All right. I will call this meeting to order. Welcome. This is Monday, March 25th. It's 5:30 p.m. And this is a meeting of the Port of Olympia Commission. As always, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Harding, would you please do this?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Love the last part.
Thank you. All right, well, we have an agenda here this evening.
Agenda. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? I would like to amend the agenda by removing from the advisory calendar lease amendment number 5, Panattoni lease option lease agreement. I don't think we're quite ready to talk about that. Put that down. Is that correct, Warren? Is that the way? Yes. Is there a second for that amendment?
Second. Can I please ask legal counsel whether I should recuse myself from voting on this agenda item?
Yes, I believe you should.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the agenda by removing the advisory calendar item, lease amendment number 5, Panattoni option lease agreement. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
Well, I would just say that in looking at this, this was the first time I looked at the Panattoni lease, and I had a number of questions. The amendment that was coming before us for consideration was small, but with possible implications I didn't fully understand. So although I was prepared to address my questions today, I am comfortable with moving forward and removing this from the advisory calendar. I assume that means it would also not be up for action at next week's. Thank you.
I would just say that we should maybe take a public comment on this item, maybe not tonight, but in the future when we do discuss this.
And I will not be voting on this amendment to the agenda, nor will I be voting on the thing, and I will read my RCW when it comes to the commission to vote on, but I'm abstaining from voting on the agenda.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, I will call for the vote for the amendment of the agenda to remove the advisory calendar item number 2, lease amendment number 5, Panattoni option lease agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. So we have an amended agenda and a second. Is there any further discussion about the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Call for the vote to approve the evening's amended agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed. So we have an agenda. Thank you very much. Let's Executive Director report. Understand that our new Executive Director, Alex, is out this evening, but it looks like she's on Zoom, and so maybe we're getting the Executive Director report. So welcome, Alex. Go right ahead.
Thanks, commissioners, and most certainly not the way I wanted to spend my first commission meeting with you all. Unfortunately, managed to get COVID at the end of my last week, so I'm trying to protect all of you and recover. So very brief executive director report that I'll share with you. And I wanted to start before we switch any of the slides to provide a huge thank you on behalf of me and the staff to interim executive director Rudy Rudolph, who spent 20 years at the port, 18 years at the airport, doing all he could to find great funding for the airport, and leaning in on all the complicated issues down there. And then whenever asked, he stepped up to be the acting executive director when the port was going through some difficult times in leadership. And just wanted to congratulate him on his retirement and extend huge thanks on behalf of me and the staff for his willingness to step up and keep the wheels on the bus. So next slide. So just wanted to talk a little bit about, there have been a bunch of port presentations throughout the community. And most recently, a lot of port presentations on Budd Inlet to a lot of local groups. And so just wanted to thank our staff, Sean and John Wolf, for doing those presentations, and invite the community that if they are interested in the work that the port has done at Budd Inlet and all that is to come on Budd Inlet, to please let us know. And we'd be happy to also come and do a briefing for you. Next slide. A number of us from the port staff attended the Thurston County Chamber Forum. It was a great event, and it was an opportunity for me to get to know some of the members of the chamber and to really rub elbows with some of the folks who I'll be interacting with over the next years. So that was a good event. Tabor Lee, Ben McDonald, Camille St. Ange, and I attended that. Next slide. We were going to have an executive director town hall tomorrow night. Unfortunately, with my getting COVID, it's going to be rescheduled. I'm really excited to meet with folks who are interested to chat about the port and what I hope that we can all accomplish at the port in years to come. I'm very sad that I got COVID, but I don't want to infect anybody. So we want to make sure that I am completely free of the disease before we reschedule the event. But look for announcements to have that rescheduled soon. And I look forward to meeting everybody in person and seeing everybody there. Next slide. So as always, we value your input and your public comment. There's all sorts of opportunities on the port's website and our social media. We're also going to start giving some port tours coming up very soon. You can always request to meet with port staff who are in charge of issues you're concerned about. Or if you'd like a port member to come and speak to your group, we're happy to do that. And speaking of public comment, I did want to mention that the port commissioners received a number of comments regarding the Port Peninsula and potential development out there. And there were a lot of questions about any potential contamination out there and how that is addressed during development. And so just wanted to let folks know that we do due diligence, or developers do due diligence before they develop properties. And sorry, my dogs are wrestling in the background. And that involves folks doing a sort of paper search of what's happened at the port historically, what the uses are on port properties or have been on port properties and adjacent properties, and then records for like adjacent contaminated properties, things like that. And then if it that turns into what's called a phase 1 environmental assessment. And if that indicates there might be contamination, then what's next is a phase 2 environmental assessment. And then you go in and you actually do soil and groundwater sampling to see what's there. And then if appropriate, the Department of Ecology is contacted, and then we work through trying to get the property cleaned up before it's developed. And the port does require its lessees to understand the contamination on a site before they go ahead and develop, so that we know when they leave at the end of their lease term, and we do sampling, we understand whether there's contamination and whether it was that prior tenant who may have been a part of that. So just wanted to reassure folks that we do care about what's out there and that we'll definitely be looking into it before any development occurs. So I think that's it. Thanks for the opportunity, and look forward to doing these in person in the future.
Thank you, Alex. Is there any questions or comments for Elle?
I would also just like to echo the thanks of Rudy Rudolph. We would have had a really hard time if we didn't have someone with this and the relationships both in and out of the port. So thank you to Rudy. I'm thinking maybe we'll see him again at some point. I maybe in his free time. So thanks, Rudy.
Yes, I agree with that. Any other comments or questions?
I just have a quick comment. Thank you, Director, for addressing one of the key concerns we were hearing about. I think a number, maybe 30 of the emails I received were sent to commissioners, right? And so, of course, we don't reply all to each other as commissioners. That place online where it says to commissioners, I'd love it if those would also, if that's appropriate, they would go to our director. I don't know whether to forward everyone to her, but I'd like her to be able to see when all 5 of us are hearing from someone. I think it would actually be helpful to me, for her to also, for it to be set so it goes to commissioners and Director Alex. Just a little note for our.
No, I appreciate that. That was one of my main thoughts too, is how to loop in our executive director into our constituents and citizens' concerns, because we did receive a lot of them.
Does it link you currently, Alex? Currently, do you receive the emails that are sent to all of the commissioners? Missy, do you know?
Does Alex receive them? I didn't look at Alex's email today to see if she got them, and I didn't look to see if she was CC'd. And she's having a hard time hearing you guys, so please speak up.
Okay, is that something that would require an action, Rick? Or is that something that if we're in agreement as a commission that we could just have the commissioner, all commissioner email loop in our executive director?
And you could just request that, and it's sort of an administrative function.
Sounds like we're all in agreement. Yes, Commissioner Ryan, are you as well?
Yeah,
The ones that go to all.
Yeah,
People
not
should still be
individual.
able to.
Yeah.
I just have another comment. Get well soon.
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Moving on then to public comment. Individual public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Members of the public may comment on agenda items and other court business. Guidelines for the public comment can be found in the Commission Rules Resolution 2022-09, Article 6. Comments should be directed to the commission as a whole and should not include comments about individual court staff or members of the public. All speakers shall be courteous in language and demeanor and shall confine remarks to those facts that are germane and relevant to the question or issue under discussion. Missy, let's see if there's anybody on Zoom that would like to make public comment.
I've got Annette Pitts has her hand raised.
Annette Pitts. Good evening, Ms. Pitts. You have the floor.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. So first of all, thank you for this opportunity. This is my first time talking to the commission, so I'm excited to see your faces. As you may or may not know, the organization I work for, which is Experience Olympia and Beyond, we've been working since, last August to create Thurston County's very first 10-year countywide destination master plan. We started this project because we not only wanted to create a shared vision for our area as a tourism destination, but we wanted to make sure that as we did this, we tempered that vision with the needs and wants of the folks that live and work here. It has been a massive process, and we've had over 1,000 individuals, well over 1,000 individuals weighing in throughout the process through a multitude of opportunities. We really wanted to be inclusive and collaborative in the process. And I'm excited to say, as we're rounding the bend on finishing this thing, what we're finding is really consistent with the Port's Vision 2050 and Destination Waterfront. It's such a nice thing to see after you've been through such a long process with so many people involved, that what we're finding really mirrors the work and the values and the goals that you guys already identified in your own strategic planning process. Waterfront activation is at the very top of our list of what the community and our visitors both agreed that they want to see being implemented across the board. So that's really all I've got to share tonight. We're not done with our plan yet. It's going to be revealed probably in May, maybe June. Would love to provide more detail when the time is right for that, but I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of our process and kind of our findings.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Pitts. Appreciate your comment.
Sure.
Missy, is there anyone else on Zoom?
raised hands on Zoom.
Okay,
Oh, wait, I've got EJ Zeta and another person too.
okay, let's,
EJ Zeta, yes,
Patrick
or
And-
Patrick Hanratty,
and Patrick Hanratty.
okay.
Being Mr. Hanratty, you have the floor. We can't hear you if you're, looks like you're muted.
He unmuted,
You're unmuted, but we still can't hear you.
now he's muted. To allow.
Yeah, why don't we, I'm not sure who the other hand raised is. We can come back to Mr.
It's EJ Zeta.
EJ Zeta.
Okay,
Okay, I just allowed EJ Zeta to talk.
okay, there you have it.
Good
You have-
evening, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. It's so good to see you all. Thank you for hearing our public comment. My name is EJ Zeta, and I have a farm on 88th Avenue near the Olympia Airport. I'm grateful to all of you for your commitment to serving Thurston County by responsibly managing public assets with thoughtful planning, good governance, and transparent engagement with the community. I have high hopes that this commission, with your good new executive director, will do a much better job than we did when I served on the commission. I commend you for your decision to remove the Panattoni matter from tonight's agenda. It sounds like you're looking for more information before you make any decision. This is a hallmark of good governance. It's important that you fully understand the issues and that you get all of your questions answered, whether they're about finances, legal ramifications, community impacts, or other matters. It's important that you are not rushed into any decisions by anybody. You are signing your name to any decision you make on the commission, and your decisions will impact taxpayers and residents far into the future. I need to apologize to you for some of the decisions made by the commission that I served on. We were often rushed to vote with incomplete information, lacking complete knowledge, not having our questions answered, and being pushed to just sign it now and we'll deal with the details later turned out to result in some terrible decisions and terrible policies. And I'm afraid you're left with some of the mess to clean up. So I apologize to you, and I trust that you will do a much better job than we did. Thank you for serving. Thank you for being there for us. And I'm hopeful for the future of Thurston County under your leadership.
Thank you, Zeta. Hanratty, you want to try again?
His hand is raised.
Mr. Hanratty, can we try again? We still can't hear you.
Sorry.
Sorry, well, maybe, we have one in the conference room here that would like, public comment, make public comment. So we'll allow, Ms. Wolfsburg to, share her public comment, and then we'll try you one more time, Mr. Hanratty. Wolfsburg, yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name's Carla Wolfsburg and I live in Tumwater. So tonight I would just like to say that I would like to make some comments about the proposed waterfront center, but because it's a lengthy process or it's got a lot of history, that I'd rather write you with more complete history of it. So I'm going to be doing that. But the main thing I think I want to bring up is that I think that the current port staff is unaware of really kind of the quest behind finding a suitable space for staff, particularly the Swantown Marina staff. And that back in 2019, the commission did undertake kind of a project to see if maybe it was more beneficial, cost effective to house all the port staff in one building. And they asked the POCAC back in 2018 to research it. And they had a very interesting report. I haven't read the report, but I did hear a Mr. Cameron Wilson, who is a real estate person. He now works for Caldwell Banker. I don't think he lives here anymore, but he made this report, or he presented the POCAC's report. And basically what they said was that they really couldn't determine and they couldn't make a recommendation because there were just too many variables. So I'd like to, direct you to that particular meeting. It was in 2018. I think it was on October 22nd of 2018. And he stated that they advised that the current leases be renewed, and the variables he identified included the port determining future staff needs in the next 50 or 100 years so as not to overbuild or underbuild. And then he explained that after the commissioners had 5 to 6 workable options, the POCAC would be happy to continue their study. So I think Mr. Rudolph did come up with some of those workable options, but I don't have those to present to you now. So I just hope that you would thoroughly review this issue. I think the staff might be unaware of the history of it. And as you heard, Vision 2050 from the woman with Experience Olympia, Vision 2050 is really the source to look at. It's not a couple of surveys by Thomas Architecture. It's Vision 2050, which was a long, thorough public engagement project with lots of stakeholders. And I think that this is what is the guiding document. In fact, in its introduction, I hope I can get through this in 9 seconds. It says, and I quote, Vision 2050 presents a new opportunity to ensure port focus and investments yield benefits and outcomes that align with community values, end quote. So thank you very much.
And Ray, you want to try one more time?
He doesn't have his hand raised, but I do have a hand raised by Deborah Patton. Oh, well, I've got Patrick raised again. Should I give him a shot?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
hand ready one more time.
Unmute.
Mr. Henry,
Looks like he's in.
looks like you're unmuted. Fortunately, we still cannot hear you. Terribly sorry, Mr. Henry, but I think we're gonna have to move. Looks like Deborah Patton has her hand raised. Ms. Patton?
I thank you. I am a member of the POCAC, and I was very involved in that discussion that Ms. Wolfsburg was just speaking about regarding that POCAC project that we had when Cameron Wilson was the chair of that. I think I'd advise the commission to go back and look at that. The current POCAC has discussed it. I'm not speaking for them, but Mr. Wilson is still here in town, and I bet you if you want to talk to him, he'd happily engage in that discussion. And at the time that we put forward that report, it was unclear. The data we were using was insufficient to make a definitive decision as to build and own or continue to lease. And he's still here in town. Everybody was on that committee is still in town, and I'm sure if the commission wants to talk to the POCAC about this, we would happily do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patton. Anyone else?
No hands raised.
All right, we will move along then. Thank you for the public comment as always. Moving on to agenda item F, the consent calendar. We have two items on the consent calendar, the assignment of lease M&D Food LLC. And the second item is bills and vouchers for November, batches 437.5. There were no warrants over 200,000 in that one, and the bills and vouchers for December of 2023, batch number 49 through 52. And there was one warrant over $200,000 to Dalton Olmsted Bugle Bank for $263,192.45. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Call for the vote. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the consent calendar is approved. Moving on to agenda item G, there are no pending issues or business. So we'll move on to agenda item H, the action calendar. We have one item on the action calendar, surplus of port property, capital budget amendment. Option Yilmaz, Green Terminal Senior Manager.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Abdul Yilmaz, the Marine Terminal Senior Manager, and we are here tonight for the surplus of port property, the flat deck rail cars, the 4 of them, and the capital budget amendment for the forklifts purchase. This is an action item, approval requested. This is for the surplus of the 4 unneeded flat deck rail cars. And to approve an amendment to the 2024 capital budget to purchase up to 4 needed boxcar special forklifts. This advisory was presented to you on presented to the Commission on March 11th at our last meeting. These were purchased in 2011 with an FRA grant, fully funded by them for $155,000. $155,127. Since then, they have been rarely used. Right now, they are not used at all, and they require extensive maintenance, and they are not needed by the port anymore. I'm kind of stuck.
I'm sorry, we tested for the clicker, it worked today.
The
Is that the right slide for you? Put it forward. Slide.
Is it the next one? Yeah, sure. So for the capital budget amendment, the boxcar special forklifts, they are the ones we are using every day to load the paper cargo onto the trucks from the warehouse. We've been leasing them since we started this paper operations in last November. They are used every day and for a gross monthly rental expense of $7,884. And again, to clarify, this is something we charge to the customer with a markup. But with the purchase of these forklifts, this cost will additionally be eliminated. So we're here to surplus those unneeded and limited use rail car equipment to replace it with a much more needed, more functional forklift equipment. The surplus disposal proceeds will be used to purchase those forklifts, and it will just require an amendment of the 2024 capital budget. And once again, it will eliminate those rental expenses at the warehouse operations. This process is governed by the Port Resolution 2024-01 and RCW 53.08.090. And anytime we want to surplus anything over $22,000, the commission approval is required. And the FRA approval was for the disposal valuation, their response we were expecting before this meeting, but they pushed it until 28. We are here to suggest two separate motions, and the first motion is to move to approve Resolution 2024-04, declaring the ports for flat deck rail cars with the following serial numbers surplus to the port's needs and authorizing their disposal through sale by open bid. And then the next motion is to move to amend the 2024 Marine Terminal Capital Budget, adding a new named project, boxcar special forklifts in the amount of $26,664. I think we're at the end. Questions?
Can you pull the motion slide up? when you have-
Yes.
For declaring the port's four flat deck rail car serial numbers as shown on the screen, surplus to the port's needs and authorizing their disposal through sale by bid.
We have a motion. Is there a second? A motion and a second to Resolution 2024-04, declaring the port's four flat deck rail cars, serial numbers as shown on the screen, surplus to the port's needs and authorizing their disposal through sale by bid. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I appreciate the creativity of removing an item that we're not using and getting it out of application, substituting something that can be used in operation. So thank you for that.
It does seem like that we could be used in current operation.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor of approving Resolution 2024-04, declaring the port's four flat deck rail cars, serial numbers as shown, surplus to the port's needs, authorizing their disposal through sale by bid. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the second.
Thank you.
Great.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Get that back up.
Yeah, it's coming.
I move to amend the 2024 Marine Terminal Capital Budget, adding a new named project, boxcar special forklifts, $226,000.
We have a motion and a second to amend the 2024 Marine Terminal Capital Budget, adding a new named project, boxcar special forklift, amount of $226,664. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Signify by saying
Aye.
opposed. No opposition, so this motion carries. Thank you, option. Moving on, we have no action other calendar. We'll move on to the advisory calendar. We have one item on the advisory calendar, contract amendment. Ben McDonald, in administration. You have the floor, sir.
All right, good evening, commissioners. Ben McDonald, Director of Human Resources and Administration, here to talk to you tonight about the contract amendment for Dixon Frolic Phillips Burgess. Today's presentation is advisory only. Simply going to review the contract with this law firm. A little bit of background about this law firm. We use Heather Burgess and Chris Pierce Wright with this firm, and Heather specializes in real estate acquisition, development, and permitting. Some of the things that she's helped us with is the land use with Panattoni. She's assisted with the Habitat Conservation Plan, real estate leasing and transactional support, as well as tenant and non-compliance / eviction issues. Chris has been critical with our public disclosure requests. We have a large amount of those, unfortunately, but that's just part of being a public organization. He's also helped with land use, real estate, and insurance litigation. I believe they helped tremendously with the sale of CBC as well. They've been critical in some of the things that they've helped us with. So contract 2022-1065 came to fruition on January 10th, 2023 in the amount of $100,000 approved by the previous commission. The end date was December 31st, 2024, and we're proposing an amendment that would take us to the end of 2025 in the amount of $100,000. And I believe that's it. Questions and comments?
Can you put the last slide back? I just want to understand if it expired in December 31st. This amendment would kind of keep that initial contract going and therefore cover services that were rendered between January and April as well, or?
Right, yep, absolutely. That's exactly what would happen.
So there has been, how much services were incurred this year under no contract?
They're under a contract. It was extended in 2023, the fall of 2023. I believe it was the term date was extended. There was no amount that was amended with it, but they extended the term date because there was still money and still services needed. So we're still currently under contract. Any other questions regarding this firm?
So everybody's clear, because the end date of this contract is not, and that initial 100,000 is used up.
Not all of it. So that's why I'm here today, because I don't want to get to that point of shoot, now we're action other, and it's just we're rushing, and so yeah.
How much is there still?
I believe we have roughly $20,000 with Phillips Burgess to expend for some of our legal things that we have regarding public disclosure, real estate. They were really helpful with the CBC sale and other things. So I think roughly around 20,000.
They, are those outside of what would normally be internal?
Typically, I mean, especially with public disclosure, we're fortunate to have Rick as our general counsel, who also has advised on the sale of the CBC, but Rick's a little unique in that he specializes in a lot of areas, and an in-house counsel typically is not going to be as versed of, land use, real estate, employment, all those things. So we would look to a specialized firm for these types of services.
Any other questions or comments?
In response to what we just heard from our HR director, I do understand looking to specialized firms for specialized services, but I do think this goes into that broader conversation since Rick is leaving about how we staff the port. And I have heard the new director say that she'd like to look into moving away from so many external consultant contracts and trying to have people who are working for us. And I would like that very much as well. So I would like this to be part of that bigger conversation. Don't also appreciate though you bringing this so that you're not running out of money.
Sure.
And so as long as we can balance that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I've talked to Alex about this topic as well with Rick's notice and, what we're going to do moving forward. We are scheduled to come to you in a work session to talk about it. And this will be a part of it. So I know Alex is wanting to, give her thoughts and, everybody in the room and come up with a comprehensive plan.
Is it a reasonable expectation that handle the public disclosure part? Yeah.
Yeah.
That would, real estate needs specialized public disclosure.
It all just depends on where people, specialize in, when they go through law school and what candidates, we look at when we are trying to find that type of representation.
We might prioritize it, the real estate expertise,
Right.
than hiring out the.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, we look forward to having a broader discussion on it for sure. Any other questions? Okay.
Turn it up for public comment.
Yep.
Like to make public comment on this topic?
Eileen Reiner.
Ms. Reiner, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So, I know that in the past, when people are on Zoom, over the past several months, I would say 2 to 3 months, there have been various public complaints. We cannot hear people speak on the Zoom. And I know that the Port of Olympia staff keeps telling us that the microphones are in the ceiling, and if people don't speak clearly, then we cannot hear you. But let's face it, the Olympia City Council has microphones in front of their faces, and they turn them on and off, and we can hear the Olympia City Council very well. This situation that we cannot hear you on the Zoom meeting has been going on for months. We've asked you to please rectify this. The staff has not been able to. Now we're asking the new executive director, maybe she can go into a room, maybe she can hear on the Zoom whether she can hear you speak or not. But certainly, and you've disabled the chat. I have not been able to speak to anybody on the chat telling them that we cannot hear you speak. But anyway, going on to this issue about special counsel. As I understand it, from what I could hear, and I really couldn't hear very well, but Rick is currently the Port of Olympia special counsel, but you want to give $200,000 to this law office for help because you want specialized law. I'm sorry, I have heartburn of this, especially since Heather Burgess is a part of this. I don't know if you remember, but many of us have dealt with Heather Burgess in the past, and many people of the public have tremendous heartburn of what has happened in the past with that attorney. So I suggest we have maybe even a meeting with the Port of Olympia new director as to what has happened in the past with that attorney in particularly, because many of us have had to deal with a lot of difficulties in the past because of that person. So that's what I have to say. And since we still have this meeting to finish, I hope those of you at the podium will speak loudly, because if you care about us hearing you on Zoom, we need to hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Reiner. Anyone else?
No other hands right now.
No other hands?
No, sir.
No one in the room want to make public comment? All right, we will move on then to commissioner reports and discussion. Sanders, would you like to start?
I don't have anything to report at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Tom?
Thank you. I do have some things to report. It's very exciting having this reset at the Port of Olympia. It's very hard to yell in a room that's kind of empty. But I did hear that our own director who appeared by Zoom today had trouble hearing us. So I'm hearing that there actually is a problem that I hope staff will be able to work. And maybe if the solution is the microphones on the desks, that would be great, because it is hard to remember to yell in an empty room. For my reports, I think already. I have notes. I can't find them. That I've appreciated hearing from so many about the waterfront, and I look forward to us having more engagement. I just wanted to say that as someone who lives within kind of a mile of the waterfront, they're not with a waterfront view. It is, I think I speak for myself, but believe I'm probably aligned with the other commissioners that we want to activate our waterfront. We all share that goal. That was spoken of by the Experience Olympia person. I think that the question is whether the strategy that we jump to on how to activate the waterfront is sufficiently connected to the goals we saw in 2017, and whether there's a better path to kind of bridge from those goals to kind of what comes next. So I think what we need to do is bring more thorough briefing than what we had in the strategic initiative conversation, where it was one of 6 items. I think it's probably worth bringing this back for a work session just to kind of get us all on the same page, because we're hearing from some people there's been so much engagement, and from others, not on this. I think it's time to kind of just do a reset with our new director and new commissioners so that we are all on the same page. So I wanted to share that because obviously none of us alone direct that. And the other main thing I've been thinking about is subcommittees. I've been hearing from members of the POCAC who have been engaged with the POCAC for nearly a year, but because we haven't connected yet to give them assignments other than the one on there's actually one on the Destination Vision 2050, there are members who were involved in a project that has been disbanded and don't know what we're asking of them. Now that we have 5 commissioners, I think it would be incredible for us to have a finance committee, maybe a waterfront committee, maybe an airport committee. Maybe you have ideas. Subcommittee, where one or more commissioners can work closely with others, not always with the POCAC, but can kind of take the lead on vetting and getting things ready for presentation to the full commission, so that when the presentations happen, we're really hitting on the context and answers that people need. Because I think there's a struggle right now between addressing existing commissioners where they're at and new commissioners who are coming into the conversation. So I think subcommittees can help both with tailoring and getting action that's more better informed here in the commission, but also in partnering with the POCAC and then soliciting advice and input from POCAC members. So I hope you'll all consider that. I don't have an action teed up at this time, but I'd invite you. I really do think we should consider some subcommittees now that it's built. That's not quite a report, is it?
Report or discussion.
I'll tag on to that it would be nice to have a work session around subcommittees, because I feel like fleshing out how we want that to go is going to take a little bit of elbow grease, so that would be nice. Today is the beginning of Holi. I think we have one commissioner of Indian descent. It's the Festival of Colors, and what's cool about it is it's a time in India when they set aside their religions and their castes, and they all come together to celebrate. And before the commission meetings, I oftentimes will meditate, and I will think about the 300,000 people that are in our county, because it's really easy to get distracted by this or that or this or that, and just really centering back on the broad community that we serve, and being inclusive of people of all backgrounds and all places in this county, and leaning into the work that has been done and continues to be done to speak to the broader voice. I had a conversation today with Mark Daly of Thurston Regional Planning Commission just about how there isn't representation of lower income people in most political spaces. So how do we ensure that that voice is being heard? And there's lots of underrepresented groups, and how do we continue to recenter on that when we sometimes hear from people who have a lot of backgrounds. My quote of the day is from Gandhi in honor of Holi or Holi. I'm not sure if I'm saying it properly. It is easy to stand in the crowd, but it takes courage to stand alone.
Right, very good. Thank you for that. Is there any other business?
I have two requests. For work sessions for our vice chair and chair to consider for future calendaring with if my fellow commissioners. One, having Mark Daly from Thurston Regional Planning come. There has been a lack of connectivity between the Port of Olympia and Thurston Regional Planning just based on turnover. There's so much that we can be doing with that. It is one of the only groups where all of the elected officials of all of the jurisdictions come together. He and I talked about trail systems with our Bud Inlet project. We talked about there's so many things possible, but we don't know what we don't know. So I would love to have him come give a presentation so that it can inform grant opportunities, collaboration opportunities. Is that something that do you need me to make a formal request for that to be a work session, or can we get a thumbs up if you guys would like to see that?
I think if we have.
Okay, thank you. I think that would be great. So whenever the vice chair and chair deem that appropriate, but it is like such a huge resource. I had no idea. It's trails, it's roads, it's population affordability of housing. It's really vast. So how we tie that in. And then the second would be the executive director, Annette, of Experience Olympia and Beyond. Sarah, Commissioner Tong and I serve on the together. And I really think this body of work that's being done with the Destination Master Plan has done a better job of convening our entire group of stakeholders than most public processes. And so I would love for them to come give a presentation. The work is not quite done. Once the work is done, so that it can help inform our destination waterfront implementation Vision 2050 as it is refreshed by this public process that is more current. Is that something that everyone would be interested in?
Object to that?
So again, chair and vice chair, if that's along with some of these other conversations separate of, but it should be done. I'm not exactly sure. So it should be and I think it's just going to be a great body of work that can help us implement public feedback without having to go back. Because these public processes do take immense time and resources, so we want to use those wisely. And I want to just say, I know our staff is working on sound, and I do think there have been resources spent on that, and if there needs to be more, we do need to. And that is not a criticism of the staff. The staff's working hard. We know that. But if we need to put a microphone in our face or pass a microphone around or whatever,
I guess we all.
It's like the talking stick. Maybe that would be good. So thank you. That's all.
There's one more thing for discussion. I think that when Alex is in the room with us, our new director, I wonder if she might be comfortable with a more open discussion at the end of the meeting, like the way you were raising things for the agenda setting. We can still, of course, maintain a specific agenda setting meeting details, but it would be nice for this part of the meeting for us to have an agreement that it's more of a discussion, and I guess we do. So just glad to hear that. And that when we met with staff this week for agenda setting, we had planned a broadband work session, and that looks like it's going to be out into May, just to get the pieces in place. But this coming work session, they've proposed an update on Bud Inlet financing. So that's what we can expect as the next work session topic to come in front of us. And then we can work in that meeting to see if anything comes up. Your first request.
Yes, you should always feel free to use this time to either commissioner reports, discussion, or other business to bring up anything report related that's on your mind. perfect time.
Commissioner Arnold, I'm not sure if Alex had something to say. She popped
She
up on the
came on
screen.
first.
I think she might be
To-
getting
to
ready
make
for.
sure she-
Okay.
announcements.
Oh, it's all here, so it probably would have happened.
Yes.
I apologize.
Yeah, so we're ready to move on to meeting announcements. Alex, are you gonna share that with us?
I understand that's my part as well. Excuse me. Yeah, so upcoming, we have a commission meeting on April 8th at 5:30 PM in the same room you all are located currently. And then there's a commission work session the following Monday, April 15th. That's 3:30 in the afternoon. Also in the same room you all are meeting right now, 626 Columbia Street. And then on Tuesday, April 16th at 6 PM is a POCAC meeting for those interested. And then on Monday, April 22nd, there is a commission meeting. So that's what's coming up.
Thank you very much. Any final comments? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.